Is Terrifier an unwatchable movie? Is Art the Clown an overrated horror icon? Or is the Terrifier franchise going to single-handedly save slashers for all of us? Well, let's talk about it. Greetings everyone, my name is Nightshade, this is The Night Shift, a home for all things spooky, and today we're going to be talking about Damien Leone's Terrifier. So the first time that I watched this movie, I wasn't really expecting much of anything. It was just a horror movie that was on Netflix and nothing else was on, so I went and checked it out. And when I got done, I turned off the TV and I was just like, alright, that was a movie, and then really thought nothing of it moving forward. And a few months later, it really started picking up traction in the horror community. And from what I can tell, it really did split horror fans everywhere. On one side, we had horror fans going, this is the greatest horror movie of all time, this is going to be the rebirth of slashers everywhere. And I thought to myself, did we watch the same movie? You had people that were completely opposite on the other side saying, this is a schlocky piece of shit, this is the death of cinema as we know it, this is garbage, this is the worst slasher movie I've ever seen in my entire life. And again, it left me like, did we watch the same movie? So from my experience, this is one of the most divisive films in all of horror, and I'm super excited to review it. And before we get into the review, I just want to let you guys know how I review things if you're new to the channel. I don't tell the story beat for beat and give my opinions along the way like most other channels do. Instead, what I do is I break this down into two parts, what I liked, what I didn't like. I should really just call that positives and negatives. It sounds easier to say, less syllables. So yeah, positives and negatives of the film from my personal point of view. I'm also going to recommend that you watch these movies for yourself. That way you can get your own informed opinion on the movie. And then meet me back here and we can geek out about it in the comments below, as long as we can keep it civil. So with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the positives, which starting off is obvious. The gore. The gore in this film is absolutely top notch. I love all of the gore, the makeup effects. It's all done practically, and the only VFX are just like little cleanup things here and there. But I absolutely love the kills, the gore, everything about that in this film. I think that's probably most people's favorite thing about this movie, honestly. Like, if you took away all of that gore, this would probably end up being something of a snooze fest if we look at it. Now, the person that designed the kills in this film, obviously sick, dark, demented, and twisted, and not all right in the brain. Oh, I love it. And it really does say something that, like, Damien Leone did this himself. He did all of the prosthetic works and designed the kills himself, and that's a quality that's absolutely admirable. So yeah, the gores, the kills, the violence, they are essentially the star of the show in this film. So up next for my list of positives, obviously, is going to be Art the Clown. It should be Art the Mime, right? Like, he's definitely a mime. What's the difference between a mime and a clown? Hold on a second. Alright, so according to Google, all mimes are clowns, but not all clowns are mimes. So it's much like a square and rectangle situation here. I'm getting sidetracked. But yeah, Art the Clown is brought to life by David Howard Thornton, who really put his all into the character. It's like all of the personality of Freddy Krueger meets all of the silence and violence of like a Jason Voorhees type of character. Like, there's definitely a playful nature about all of the depraved things that he's doing. Like, he's doing very awful things to a bunch of different people, and just the playful glee that he, has while he does it. It's really won me over because, spoiler alert, I don't really like clowns. Like, I'm not scared of clowns by any means, but the clown trope has been done to death, and it takes a lot for me to be interested in any type of clown character. And David Howard Thornton really won me over in his portrayal of Art the Clown. It really works for me. It really works in this type of like grindhouse kind of feel. So yeah, Art the Clown definitely going in the positives category for this film. Alright, for this next one, I contemplated putting this somewhere in like the gray area, because it's not really a positive, it's not really a negative, but it's also a positive, but it's also kind of a negative, and that would be the cinematography. Like, the look of this film looks like something that me and my friends would go out and film with this specific camera that I have here. It doesn't look like a professional camera, it looks more like an SLR, like what I'm using and what other people use for their YouTube channel. It definitely wasn't filmed on a high-end camera, but they did the best they could with what they had, and I absolutely appreciate it because it's got its own certain charm to it. There's a certain vibe that it gives off. Like something about it being super dark but also overexposed at the same time in a lot of scenes, as well as the natural grain that's in every single one of these scenes, and then the orange and teal LUT that they use to color correct this really gives it its own sort of charm, its own sort of feel. They definitely nailed the look of like those old grindhouse films, and I know not all of it was intentional, like for sure it wasn't all intentional. I know some of it was absolutely intentional, but you know, the look that they achieved with this film, I actually really love it. It's kind of like how I love old Misfits. Like, the production is absolute shithouse quality, but if it was cleaned up, I don't think I would like it. And the same thing goes for this film. Like, if it was more polished and more clean, I don't think I would like it as much as I do. So the overall look, the overall vibe, the overall quality of the film, I actually really enjoy a lot. I really dig it. It really feels like very DIY, and I always respect something that has a DIY feel because this movie was in fact a do-it-yourself kind of movie. This was something that was done on a budget by somebody who was funding the film with their own money, working several part-time jobs to see that it gets done, and I absolutely love the final result of that. That's just gonna about do it for the positives. Now it's on to the negative. Now for my first negative, it was another one that I contemplated doing like a gray area, but I find it to be a little bit more negative than I do positives, so it's going to be on the positives category, and that is no story. There really is no story to this film. It's two girls who get stranded after a Halloween party. One calls their sister and then get terrorized by Art the Clown. That's all the story that we get out of this, and in a way it kind of works, but in a way it definitely doesn't. Like, on one end, we could just chop up all the kills and make them horror shorts on YouTube and it would work fine. Because this whole movie is just horrible kills that kind of stack together. There's not really any story there. But to err on the side of positives is we don't know much about Art the Clown in this film. We know the exact same about Art the Clown as the victims do. So we're side by side with the victims in not knowing jack shit about this killer. I mean, in a way, I kind of like it. At the same time, I also very much enjoy character development and plot points and plot twists even. And unfortunately, we get none of that here, so we're gonna have to go ahead and put this in the negatives for that reason and that reason alone. So up next for my final gripe with this movie, the final negative of this film, and that's going to be the acting. The acting in this film is absolutely atrocious.
That was the longest piss I've ever taken.
I'm fucking lit. But if I get something to eat, I can drive us, okay? There's a place that's open late, we can sober up.
Did you say food?
I said food.
This guy wants me to meet him at his apartment right now.
What a shocker.
I told him I would.
What?
I'm kidding. I have a little more self-respect than that.
If you only had a brain.
Oh, I'm on the phone. Gotcha.
I've been wanting to use that one all night.
Like, I've seen some bad acting before, but this movie, oh, woof. And in some movies, you know, we have acting so bad that it's good and laughable, and we could all point and laugh at it and look at what an awful job they did. This one, the acting is so bad, it's much like nails on a chalkboard. Like, when it comes to movies and bad acting, there are some movies that have bad acting that's so bad that it's good, like movies such as Sleepaway Camp or any of the Friday the 13th films. Like, the acting in those films is bad, but it's got a charm to it, you know, there's a nostalgia behind it. But the acting in this film is just bad, like really bad, like it's bad, it's so bad it's awful. Like, some of the scenes and some of the dialogue in this film just make me cringe from embarrassment for the person that's saying them. Ultimately does some pretty severe damage to the watching experience of this film. Like, you kind of just want to watch a compilation of the kills from this movie instead of watch the whole thing from front to back. Like, some of the line delivery is like nails on a chalkboard, and it's just All in all, this movie for me was it was decent enough. It was just an okay film for me. And yeah, there's people that absolutely hate this film, and I can say that I understand why. This is much like a Friday the 13th film, but it does not have any nostalgia to it. Like, we all grew up watching Jason mindlessly hack and slash stupid camp counselors over and over and over again. Zero story, zero anything like that. And I think we all still hold those films near and dear to our heart simply because of nostalgia. And with Terrifier, there is no nostalgia attached to it, and I think a lot of people just find it to be a corny, cheesy slasher film, which, yeah, of course it is. And if you don't like it, that's perfectly fine. This movie is not for you, it's not for me. But what I do think about Terrifier is I think that Art the Clown is definitely going to be our generation's Jason Voorhees. And that's why I keep bringing up Friday the 13th, so I apologize for that. But yeah, Art the Clown is definitely like the modern day Jason Voorhees. Like, I think the younger generation is going to grab onto Art the Clown and run with that into a new generation of horror fans, and I'm here for it. And to answer the intro and thumbnail, I don't think Art the Clown is overrated at all. I definitely think that he is the next big horror icon, and I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's only going to continue to grow, and the fan base for that is just going to continue growing along with him. I think the Terrifier franchise is also going to grow and grow and grow, and it's definitely in line to be the next big long-running slasher icon franchise. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 6 out of 10. If the acting was a little bit better, I think I definitely would have given this more of a 7 or 8, because I really do enjoy, you know, the rest of the film outside of the bad acting. But you know, that bad acting really does do some damage to this film. Well, that's just gonna about do it for me. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this film. Are you one of the people that absolutely hated it? Are you one of the people that absolutely love it with every fiber of your being? Let me know in the comments below. I look forward to reading them. So until next time, my name is Nightshade. This has been The Night Shift, and I will see you in the next video. Stay spooky, my friends.